back, everybody. Today we are testing E36 chassis harness number 1, 2, 3. It's not even in the frame. You see that? 1, 2, 3. So pretty cool, pretty hyped. You always want to connect your positive and then your ground to the battery, and vice versa. When you disconnect, you always want to disconnect your ground first, then your positive. If you don't know why, just look it up. We're not going to get into that right now. So we have the battery connected, and what we're going to do is test all of our battery constant signals and circuits, flying leads, stuff like that. All is good. Let us see what else we have. Test this. Here she is. What else? What else? I think that's pretty much it. There's not many battery constant flying leads in this build. All right, cool. So this customer opted for the switch panel for their start and ignition on. So what we do is we'll key on. You'll notice that the cluster illuminates. So now we can check all the key on circuits. This is an adder relay. This adder relay is in the center of the dash area. It's primarily used for a radio, or we like to add it into all the harnesses now as more of a backdoor in case you do decide to add something later on. You have that option of a power in the harness, which is always sweet. So far so good. Everything is going smooth. Let's see what else we got here. These are your inputs and outputs. These are just extra flying leads that we add for you to repurpose in case you need something later on down the road. Those always come in handy. And then if you have an E36 and you do your OEM cluster, we always throw this Bad Larry right in here. We have to throw a label on it, but this is for your gauges. So you'll have a key on to activate the gauges themselves, and then you'll have your parking or running lights on signal and a ground for the parking or running light signal. Per any aftermarket gauge, you want your own dedicated ground per gauge so that there's no interference. So that's why we add these, and we add the ground, and we specifically say it that way every time. So that's good. We'll double check. Sweet. So that's all the key ons. So what we'll do is I like to start with the switch panel, and we'll run through the switch panel. Next I just hit the hazard button. Let's play with it since I just hit it. So as you can see, all four corners illuminate as well as both blinkers on the cluster. So that works well. What were we going to do next? So key on, starter, yes. So this has an X20 OBD1, and we are going to test the starter signal. And we always make sure it also turns off. That's very important as well. You don't want a circuit stuck on. Let's check the brake pedal since I just saw it, and then we'll just verify that the brakes illuminate. Boom. All three, including your third brake light, which we do plug right into. It's built into the rear portion of our chassis harness, so I'll just show you that again. All three, good to go, so we can check that off the list. Next would be this customer's wiper. So the wiper is also in the center of the dash area off a flying lead. The E36 wiper connector that connects to the wiper motor is too big for the opening in the firewall. So what we recommend is that you guys find the wiring in the firewall. It's 4 wires, and you cut it about a foot into the cabin to leave you room, as well as the brown wire as long as possible, because that's going to be your ground. So you're going to want to ground that, and then you can tie in this flying lead to either the high or low depending on what you'd like. So let's see, make sure it works. Sweet. And then again, we always like to turn it off to make sure the circuit turns off. So that's good. And then we already checked hazards, so that's sweet. So this customer asked us to put their 2-door window harness into their custom switch panel, which is a case-to-case basis, so just hit us up and ask us. It does have to disconnect, otherwise it's just going to be a nightmare, and you're not going to enjoy it. So we strongly recommend that it disconnects. For a simplistic installation, say that 5 times fast, All right, what do we got next here? We can check the fuel pumps. This customer has an aftermarket fuel pump in the driver fuel level location. So they have the OEM fuel pump and OEM fuel level on the passenger side. And then on the driver's side, they opted to add an extra 30 amp relayed circuit. With your fuel pump circuits, you always want to look into the exact fuel pump you have and find the max amp draw. And when you find the max amp draw, let us know. And if you let us know, we can accommodate you with the correct size fuse for that circuit. If not, we're going to put in a 30 amp. We're going to put in a 30 amp, and then it's on you. You guys got to figure that out. But if you let us know, we can accommodate you. We have plenty of fuses here. But that's very important. You want to make sure you have the correct size for the max amp draw. That now. This customer opted to have both fuel pumps activated from the X20 connector. If you are running an X20 connector in anything, regardless of what we're wiring it into, whether it's an E30, an E46, an S13, we can wire them into an S14, universal, whatever you guys want. The X20 specifically kind of goes against the rule of thumb, and this is supposed to see a switched power for your fuel pump circuit to activate the relay in our chassis harness. Only on the X20 connectors, OBD1 or OBD2, which kind of goes against the grain because almost all ECUs and aftermarket ECUs, for the most part, you definitely want to look into which one you have and what your ECU does specifically. Always can talk to your tuner or us about it. Is a switched ground signal. So the X20 kind of goes against the norm on that. So you'd want to be careful. And that's where it really comes into play on what you have. And we need to know what you have. So you guys got to do a little digging and figure out what you have to let us know what you have so we can wire it in. So we will activate. So let's see here. Boop. Good. All right, now we'll test the other fuel pump circuit. This one's going to be a little tricky. I think I got it. Let's see. We love to test, and we are going to start showing the entire harness breakdown because it just kind of helps us help you guys in case you have a question about your specific harness. There it is. In case you have a question about your specific harness, there's an entire video accessible to you at any point in the day or night, 24/7 on YouTube, and you can at least go over it and kind of get a better idea of whatever you're trying to work with. And then you can always contact us on the tech support line. We do our best. Sometimes we're able to answer it right away. Sometimes not. Sometimes we answer it on New Year's Eve. Sometimes we answer it on Christmas. Sometimes on a random Thursday night, we can't answer it. So, if you're able to let us know, be like, hey, I'm going to go mess with my car in an hour. If you could just kind of make sure if I have a question, you're available. That helps us help you. So the more you let us know, the more we can help you. So we did, let's check. Battery constant, key on, start, wiper, hazards. We did the brake signal, and we did the fuel pump. So we can go to our OEM blinker stalk here, which activates the OEM blinkers, vice versa. And then you also have your high beams off the OEM stalk, which it does illuminate on the cluster as well at the top there, right under my thumb. So that is cool. Let us see. We have running lights on. So now we'll check the running light on circuit, which this customer, if you notice these red wires over here, this customer has European headlights, which is why we're very specific on what you have exactly, because a lot of people just tell us, oh, it's stock or it's factory, and that's not good enough ever. You need to tell us exactly what you have, because Euro lights are factory also, just like these lights are factory. This customer, let's turn these high beams off. This customer has the sub harness for the Euro lights, so we'll be able to plug right into that. The corner lights don't change. And then they asked for the extra wire on each side for the halos. So we can wire that in for a small fee. We wire it right into the harness. None of that, ran on the outside nonsense. So lights are on. Let's see here. Good. Oh, jumped off. Good. Sweet. So now we'll check also running light, parking light circuit in your aftermarket gauges, as well as there's one in your inputs and outputs. So that's everything. Very compact. Oh, we can show you a couple cool things by grounding circuits on the X20 to show you your check engine, your low oil light, and your alternator light. So let's see here. So there's your low battery light. Here's your check engine. Can we see that? Yeah, we can see that. That's not bad. And then your low oil light. Pretty cool, as well as the cluster illuminates when you turn your running lights on. You see it illuminates. And then we have your high beams off the OEM switch. And then this customer asked that we wire their underglow to the OEM fog light button. So this will be the last circuit we test. We are all set. Sweet. And then turn it off. Perfect. So there we go. We have produced out of raw materials another chassis harness. Great success. These OEM buttons are getting funky. I know this customer doesn't have it, but in my own personal car, it sat for so long, the points on the OEM tumbler got a little funky from sitting, and I needed to just hit it with a wire brush because the points weren't connecting correctly. So be aware with the OEM stuff. Look at it, make sure it's not corroded, make sure there's nothing wrong with it, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.